Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November 5th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine. Yeah, it's another MP3 episode. I hate doing these, especially when it's just before the election. I really do, but a million things happened. I'm sorry, guys. This is what we're going to have to do. And I'm not putting out a show before Election Day. But anyway, before we get into election predictions, this is National Security Advisor John Bolton reminding us that neoconservative is going to neoconservative.
When superheroes get sick, Trump has signed a new executive order to impose tough new sanctions against Venezuela.
You know, the country that's not attacking us.
Operating within corrupt Venezuelan economic sectors,
as opposed to our perfect government.
Stolen wealth. Most immediately, the new sanctions will prevent U.S. persons from engaging with actors and networks complicit in corrupt or deceptive transactions in the Venezuelan gold sector.
That is what sanctions are, John. Congratulations.
The Maduro regime has used this sector as a bastion to finance illicit activities, to fill its coffers.
As opposed to our government.
The United States will not tolerate Maduro's undermining of democratic institutions.
Your guy lost the popular vote, just saying. Also, isn't your party known for gerrymandering? Anyway, that was just all nonsense. But John Bolton also has dubbed what he calls the Torca of Tyranny, which is very similar to George W. Bush and David Frum's Axis of Evil. And if you don't remember, the Axis of Evil was more or less, it was something I think George Bush used in the State of the Union address. I think it was his first one after 9/11, in fact, which would have just been 2002. And those were the countries that we either did invade or we had to invade, like, then and right now. And they were Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, and North Korea, I believe. None of them were Saudi Arabia, despite the fact they caused 9/11. They were agents of peace. But John Bolton now has the Torca of Tyranny, which is Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Now let's go down the list. Cuba's our ally now. The Obama administration made them our ally. And even then, Cuba's biggest attack on us was as a military base for the Soviets 50 years ago. The Soviets that Donald Trump is now friends with. Yeah, remember that? For that matter, the Cuba regime isn't even very dangerous. They have virtually no military. They have almost no prisons as it is for political dissidents. They had to, in the 70s, or was it the 70s, or it was one of the last years of the Carter administration, send political prisoners here. It was the Cuban boat people, back when Carter was president. So they're not a threat. Venezuela, okay, that is a tyrannical country, I'll give you that. It is a socialist country, I'll give you that. They aren't a threat. Objectively not. Venezuela has no military. They have to bend to us, not the other way around. And that's why we were able to hold a coup there in the 2000s. And then, I have no idea where they got Nicaragua. Something about drugs, probably, but at the same time, the CIA distributes opium. For God's sake, we know that. For that matter, remember, where did all that cocaine come from? But, okay. And as for the sanctions against Venezuela, that's just going to hurt them, the citizens. Maduro isn't going to get harmed. There was a clip a while ago of him pausing footage. He thought he paused the footage, and then going to eat a rice patty while his nation was starving. He's going to eat no matter what. All not trading with them does is hurt the citizens of Venezuela. One of the advisors under Bill Clinton, I forget her name, but she was I think the UN ambassador, and had to defend the sanctions Bill Clinton put against Saddam Hussein. And she said, yeah, we know it's going to kill people. We know sanctions kill people. We just don't care. What? So you think that's okay? And John Bolton is even mentioning that. Because John Bolton is a little bit of a tool. And by that I mean John Bolton is pure evil. Jonathan Bolton is a neoconservative. There is no way around that. He worked for George W. Bush as UN ambassador. And has talked constantly about how we need to invade Iran like now. John Bolton, I am not exaggerating when I say that, make Henry Kissinger and Dick Cheney look like MLK and Gandhi. That is how war-hungry Jonathan Bolton is. Anyway, this is normally where I'd end the news segment and start reading like a column or something, which I love doing and I will do, starting probably the episode after next, again. However, before we officially sign off this episode of Ephrom Josine Show, I'm going to make a few predictions for the midterms. Now, first off, I think that Democrats have about a coin flip chance of taking back the House. What do I mean by that? I mean the chances are, honest to God, 50-50. I can't see it going either way. I do, however, see it more than likely being very similar to what it is now. Maybe just flipped. I don't see the Dems getting a supermajority. I also don't see the Republicans really gain. I think maybe they'll lose 1 or 2 seats. Democrats will gain about 1 or 2 seats. I don't think this is going to be a historic election. Now, the Senate, that's what I think is also kind of interesting because Democrats have about 3 times the amount of seats up as Republicans, and they need to keep all those seats and win every Republican seat in order to get a majority. That I don't think is going to happen. That I just do not see happening. However, I do think we are going to win at least a couple seats, and let me tell you why. Because there's a lot of resistance going on right now. For God's sake, it looks like Boko O'Rourke, the most Mexican-sounding name of all time, may become a senator from Texas. Just because people hate Ted Cruz that much. And to be fair, he's pretty easy to hate. I mean, he's Ted Cruz. I'm Ted Cruz! So, that's what I think is going to happen. Going back to the House, we know Paul Ryan is retiring. So as for who's going to be Speaker, that's actually a kind of hard one. I think it's going to be either Jordan, Scalise, or Nunes is probably going to be Speaker. I am not going to put a hard bet on that, but I think that is more than likely, or whoever the majority leader is. I'm going to actually look that up real quick. Kevin McCarthy is the majority leader. I think it is. He could also become Speaker. Jordan's the one doing all the publicity and saying he's going to run. And saying, oh my God, I'm going to be a great Speaker of the House. That's not what Jim Jordan sounds like. I promise by this time 2020, if he becomes Speaker, I'll have his voice memorized and it will be beautiful. Mark my words. So that's more than likely what I am predicting is going to happen. We're going to find out tomorrow. And I'm going to also cover some of it while it's happening tomorrow. So look forward to that. I'm Ephrom, and good night.